The Count has an eye on his ankle and lives in a horrible place. He wants all your money, he's never at all funny. He wants to remove your face. And you might be thinking, what a romp this is. But wait till you meet his accomplices. When you see Count Olaf, you're suddenly full of disgust and despair and dismay. In the whole of the soul of Count Olaf, there's no love. When you see Count Olaf count to 0, then scream and run away. Scream, scream, scream and run away. Run, 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 or die, 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 die. Run, 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 or die, 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 die.
Hey guys, this is Lisa with Sincerely Inked, coming at you with a new art journal today that I want to do a flip of. And it's all based on the wonderful series by Lemony Snicket, A Series of Unfortunate Events. I love these books and had to respond with an art journal. And this was many years ago that I began this art journal. It's still not complete, but I've been dying to do a video of it. And I'm an avid reader, especially love youth fiction and children's literature. And this series was really special to me. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I would definitely either read it or listen to it by audio, which is amazing. Some of the voices that come with the book audio are great to listen to in the car. My children and I have listened to it over and over again. It's a great series. But this series I began over 12 years ago. I read this series when my husband and I first began the ministry of Teen Challenge in our hometown. Teen Challenge is a ministry that reaches out to people of all ages that have life-controlling issues, and our particular center is a residential center for adolescent girls that struggle with life-controlling issues, whether that be eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, drug or alcohol abuse, and their parents are, obviously very worried about their at-risk behaviors and are looking for a therapeutic type boarding school setting where their daughter can get back on track. And that's what we do. My husband and I have been doing this for 20 years. And when we began the center 12 years ago, my children were very little. We moved into the house. We didn't have residential staff yet. And I felt like my life had been plummeted into its own series of unfortunate events. And it was difficult. God blessed and he took care of us, but it was very difficult beginning. And I remember starting this series and Lemony Snicket, aka Daniel Handler, if you've seen any of his videos on YouTube, they're so funny because he doesn't claim to be the author, but obviously he is. Very witty, very sarcastic. Truly love how he's written this book and really spoke to me at a time in my life when it was difficult. And I felt like the difficult circumstances that these characters in this story faced, they overcame them and still held on to their integrity. And I loved that. And I had to respond. And not only did I do a book group with my students at the time, but I also did an art journal that I want to share with you. So let me tell you a little bit how I put this journal together before we do the flip. But this was one of those books that you pick out all the different papers that you want, and then you put it in a spine of a book, and it's got the glue infused into the spine. So when it's heated in a special machine, it fuses it all together. So I don't know if they still carry those. Really neat way to make an art journal, especially because you can pick out all the papers that you want. But this was made from an old game board that I got off Amazon or Etsy based on the game. And I love it because I was able to put on here the characters, which were the game pieces and things that were special to the book. I made this little cloth quilt square that I had printed some of the book images on. Did it on both the front and the back. Has some of the game board on the back. And it just made a super fun platform for me to work with. So I love this journal. It's not near completed. I'm going to go ahead and do a flip for you and play some really groovy music that was written when these books were coming out. And when we get to the end of the flip, I'm going to share some things with you that I have in store for this book in the future. So enjoy the flip. Okay, so here we go. This is the first page of the art journal. And if you ever wanted to love to hate an author, this is the man, Lemony Snicket. He is the king of rhetoric. I'm going to share with you what that means here in a minute. But there's a song by the Gothic Archies that you just are going to listen to here in a little bit that went with this series as this series was coming out. It had quite the cult following, I think, this book series did, even with adults that had book groups that were meeting to see what was going to happen. It's quite a mystery that goes on in these books, and you read the first one and you quickly find out that there's way more going on than just these three little orphans that Count Olaf wants to take their fortune. You realize there's a way bigger story to this, and he is truly the king of rambling, and he will keep you on your toes, but he will also make you so angry. But he's such a great author. I really, really do love him. So what I ended up doing in response to make this art journal was going to book sales, libraries, Goodwill, any place I could find some used copies of the book so that I could literally have a heyday ripping it up and using the illustrations, the book plates, the text to respond in my journal. So that's what we've got right here. And then we go to this title page here. It says, "This is a random book of meaningful life nonsense and snickety style rhetoric and God sightings." I wrote in here things that I really felt like God was speaking to me so that I could see the humor in my own difficult circumstances and the meaning behind it. One of the things that I love about this series is that the orphans always creatively manage to get out of their difficult circumstances. And I absolutely adore that. And you know, if you're a reader, that you just fall in love with fictional characters. And when the story is over, you just cry your eyes out because you feel like they're your friends. And that is absolutely me. So I got really close to these three little orphans, and I love to hate Count Olaf and Lemony Snicket as well as an author. But here we've got that first page, and then we flip right over to lots of crumpled book text. Got a little piece of a book spine here, and wish I could tell you where this stamp came from. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see her. Cute little raggedy orphan girl that just had to go on the very first page. Wish I could remember exactly where this stamp set was from. If somebody knows, please shoot me a comment and let me know. But super cute stamp. And one of the themes of the book is definitely orphans. And if you've grown up in a difficult family situation where you didn't have parents or you were an orphan, you could totally relate to the book. But even if you had great parents and just had difficult circumstances, still you could feel like an orphan. So I love the theme of that whole orphan mentality going on, and different things that were endearing about that. But we've got dictionary pages in here that say rhetoric. I'm going to zoom back out so you can continue to see the book. There we go. And then what I did was I took all 13 titles of the book and I put it into my own phrase of what life is like. And I had a great time doing that. And so I'm going to read this to you. It says that life is like a wide window, a series of unfortunate events full of bad beginnings, with lying snakes who have escaped their reptile rooms and placed us on slippery slopes. We've grown up in vile villages, forced to work in miserable mills. Is this sounding like your life at all? And looking for peace in grim grottos, trying to escape through an ersatz elevator, an elevator with a hole in it. And life has become an austere academy. We have become players in a carnivorous carnival. Hostile hospitals have been no hope, and we truly face penultimate peril. Nonetheless, a phrase here which means none of that matters, because God will give us a happy the end. Literally every title of the book in that. So I loved doing that and getting that on these 2 pages. Now what you're seeing next is just another response to some book pages ripped off the mattress tags that say, "Do not remove by penalty of law." Rebellion's a big part of these books as well. So I had to totally do that and use whatever ephemera I could find at the moment. Stamping and writing and, gosh, just everything that's great for an art journal. My little feet sticking out here. And then we jump right into the beginning of this book where I really wanted to use old photographs. I love finding old photographs in antique shops. And the setting of this book, if you've read these, you'll know is either the late 1800s, early 1900s. And the old photographs just seemed like the way to go as far as trying to put the characters into an image that made sense to me. So I've got Mr. Poe here. If you've read the story, look at that, a mysterious figure emerging from the fog, which is something that Sonny Baudelaire said at the beginning of the books. But baby talk. She baby talks, and then they give meaning to her baby talk, which is great. So I've got candy wrappers in here. I've got book text that's been Mod Podged down. I've got the recipe for pasta puttanesca, which is a recipe in the book. And then we jump right into this wonderful, probably my favorite photograph of what I think is a young Count Olaf. I've doodled on him a beard, very disrespectfully, and got game pieces here. And it says prevail, but if you flip, it says evil, and evil will not prevail. I've got some little tuck spots here for notes, carefully cut out book text and illustrations. The very first chapter of the book, which is the most famous phrase of the first book, says, if you're interested in stories with happy endings, you would be better off not reading this book, but read some other book. Yeah, I would agree. Still kept on, though, loved them. Got confidential bags here because telegrams and letters to the editor and urgent notes and secrecy were a big theme in the book. So I've got some things like that here where I can really respond. And in my book group, we were always writing telegrams with my students. And then that's it. I've just got a bunch of blank pages here that my intent is to fill up. But let me share with you some of the things that I'm going to use. One of the things that's a great find if you go to a craft store are the Tim Holtz old images, photographs of things. He has some great ephemera that you can use if you can't get your hands on some photographs. So I really like his stuff, and I pick it up whenever I get a chance. Forgive me, my camera is shaking. I've also got in my bag of goodies, the really large pack that he has that's full of characters. Love this one. Definitely, if you've got a project in mind where you need some old photographs, this is a really inexpensive way to go. Get yourself a coupon and just jump into that store and get you one of these big packs. Found a pack of poison and danger type ephemera, which is awesome because that totally goes with the theme of this book where there's a lot of danger happening. Was super excited to find a legit telegram that I could put into this. Telegrams being a big part of this book, as well as commonplace notebooks and journaling. So it just all really goes well together. Found some really lovely cards and ephemera from that time period that I can place in there. And I just have to share these with you because these are just, this character here is definitely a book character. Definitely got to be one of the characters in my book. So I have tons of these old photographs that I'm going to be able to use in this. And I hope that you've enjoyed this flip. I plan to bring you updates as I carry on with more. If you have any questions for me, I am a huge book lover and love to respond to book series that I've read through art journaling. Put some comments below for me. And as we head out, I'm going to play some groovy gothic Archie music for you. So until next time.